All right, staff member Melvin, we are live. Back to you, President Chen.
Okay, so we're going to step, do something else, and then we'll come back to the previous topic. We're going to move to review and discuss mailing C3 with staff member Melvin, just regarding Division 115/135.
All right, give me just a moment. I'll share my screen. Staff member Fox, can you hear us okay? Just want to make sure our audio is okay on the call.
Yes. Thank
Thank
you.
you. All right, so the board just adopted the standards adopted by reference rules that went through the May rulemaking hearing. Unfortunately, when I discovered those errors in that we spoke about earlier, where you motioned on rules that didn't actually have any changes, I did find a couple. I had to scour the entire chapter 855, and I found a few more that, since we're going to have a July rulemaking hearing, that I would like to propose sending through. So that's what this is today. So it would just, again, incorporate and update those standards adopted by reference. The first one I found was in 855-115-0130. And go down to paren C and D. We need to amend those dates to reflect 4/1/2024. And then also in Division 135 and 855-135-0001, 1A for ACPE version, that needs to be 5/27/2025. And in paren B, we need to make that match also 5/7/2025 to bring that one current. And I believe those were the only proposed changes. So back to you, President Chin, for discussion.
Questions, comments?
Member Kirkbride, just a procedural question. When you do find things like this, I assume you keep some sort of master list. So the next time when we adopt, it will be all inclusive. So these will be added to that.
Yes, staff member Melvin. We have an inclusive list. Unfortunately, our former staff member Davis missed those in the lineup last year, so they weren't on the radar. So the easier thing for me to do is to scour the entire chapter versus looking at prior board meeting. No,
Which you
so
have
yes,
now done, so we're
noted.
pretty
For some
confident
people.
we've captured everything.
Yes.
Perfect. Thanks.
Yeah.
It's been scoured.
Yeah, this.
Okay, so is there a motion to move to send OAR 855-115-0130 and OAR 855-135-0001 as proposed to the July 2025 rulemaking hearing?
So moved, Board Member Kroger.
Second, Board Member Beeman. Thank you. Board Member Chen, yes. Board Member Joyce?
Yes.
Board Member Beeman?
Yes.
Board Member Hall?
Yes.
Board Member Kirkbride?
Yes.
Board Member Kroger?
Yes.
Board Member Patel?
Yes.
Board Member Pinito? Yes. Motion passes unanimously. Okay. Ready to take 3 deep breaths. Like Joe, I can't ever remember them.
Is that the joke?
That's what the chiropractor said.
Thank you. You got any others?
That was just up here, man. Proud of the dad.
We're gonna go back. You're gonna go back to
Mailing C.
Lane C to discuss the rules policy discussion. And we're gonna go back and look at this is because the motion failed. To discuss why we can't have a failed motion. We're open for another jump.
By Pendleton Cup?
Oh, that's a name.
Oh, yeah, I see the face.
It's an angry bird.
I'm always gonna feel angry, thanks, Kat.
I'm gonna put a smile. Anybody in here?
Have a game.
Mhm. I'm really glad that maybe for my grandson, the special needs one.
Executive Director Running. I'm ready to give you some additional background information regarding the budget request. So let me not mince words here. We were and could potentially be in a financial crisis. And so through extensive work with our CFO analyst, Hari, we identified previously for the 25 through 27 budget the only viable option to avoid a completely disastrous budget shortfall would be this fee increase. And as a licensee myself, which as far as I know, I do not get any discounts on license renewal from working at the board. I feel the fee increase in addition to the other licensees. So I'm not sitting here as someone that's so far removed from this process and the ramifications of these increases that I'm unaware of the impact. They affect me as well. And so what I want to talk about is are 2 points that may perhaps assuage some concerns that you might have and some that were expressed today. I mentioned earlier in the introduction of this budget that in 2013, the fees were reduced to previous levels, going back to what they were in 2001. So understanding that that's a potential option and that occurred because sustaining fees at that point in time at that level would have resulted in too high an operating balance. So understanding that that's a potential, I want you to know that just because we're increasing the fees now doesn't mean that it's going to be that way forever or that it has to be that way forever. But one may make the argument that it needs to be that way now. And why does it need to be that way now? Our licensing software is sunsetting in 2027, and it can take upwards of 1.5 to 2 years to complete a full RFP and then procurement and then implementation of that acquisition and implementation of that software. So we're obviously on a time crunch as far as that goes. And what could be the potential ramifications if we don't have licensing software? What could be the potential ramifications to patient safety, health, safety, and welfare, and that's intimately embedded in our mission statement. We would be unable to meet that basic tenet of our mission statement if we do not have licensing software. The other component is the next biennium. To assuage some concerns, what we could do or could explore, it's been mentioned previously, I know by President Chin and some of the other board members, that there are concerns about the uniform implementation of these licensing fee increases across all of the 36 licensing types that we have. If during the next biennium you're still concerned about that, there would be an opportunity to examine the potential redistribution of the fee increases in such a way that would be more reflective of board will at the time, and more reflective of the concerns that were voiced today. And again, what happens if we don't take action today? Staffing changes, obviously, we'd have to let some staff go because of the budget shortfall. Again, we would have no licensing software, and the current package that we're looking at would have a compliance component with it. So that could drastically increase the efficiency of case processing. And as previously mentioned, there was some concern about the efficiency of case processing. And with that compliance component, that would drastically increase the ability of compliance staff to process cases. In the policy option packages, we also have allowance for health professional services programs, contract extension. So we would have to do away with that. And that's an integral component in protecting public health, safety, and welfare. Again, there are staffing reclasses that are part of the policy option packages. Again, that would lead to staff being let go. So you can see, as a result of inaction or this failing, we would no longer be able to meet our statutory obligation to protect public health, safety, and welfare. And again, just to reemphasize, I think there are options if we're concerned about the long-term financial ramifications of this, especially to certain licensees, such as certified organ pharmacy technicians and pharmacy technicians. Again, that would be something that we could look at the next biennium. We could look at the redistribution of those fee increases across the next biennium. Again, there is nothing to say that this wouldn't be reduced as it was in 2013. And one last point, COPTs and PTs have always had the same licensing fee as far as I know. So while we may take issue with that, that's always been the case. And again, moving forward, the next biennium is something that we could look at if that's the board's will at the time. But just to give a greater historical context to that, especially as it relates to the decision today. And that's all I have, President Jen.
Thank you. Did you have any?
I think we just open it up to like additional session. Our part, right?
Oh, can you pull that microphone?
Have a legislative package that's been approved by the legislature, and if you guys want to, those are all linked here. But if you would like staff to walk you through those, the hard part, right, is when you ask the legislature for a budget and they do give you what you've asked for, and you go back again.
We voted for this.
Right.
And
So
we had passage of the legislation to, passage of the budget to go to the legislature, and amazingly, with a lot of hard work from Gary, and other staff members, it did pass, and, just remember being,
I'd also like to, just give a perspective of the new software and the software upgrade and all that would entail. That is, it hinges on this motion passing. And could completely change not just the efficiency with which cases are handled, which we do have concerns about cases being handled efficiently and in a timely manner, and we discuss it every meeting. But who know, like, depending on what software is contracted and incorporated, I mean, we don't even know the positive repercussions that could come from that could open up staff time and staff resources so that the board can and staff can focus on our whole ever-growing list of things that we want to address. So without passing this and without putting this, which is approved by the legislature, into action to upgrade what we need to upgrade, we're really limiting and just putting this concrete ceiling on how efficient we can become, not just as a board, but as staff as well, to achieve our end goals for the patients. And so I think it's hard, it's absolutely hard, and especially as a licensee that's going to pay this fee increase, it's hard to say we have to do this. Unfortunately, we haven't done it for a lot of years, and that's why we're here, and we're charged with making this difficult decision. But I think that to make this decision and to, you know, kind of grit your teeth and say, we have to do this, it's going to open us up to so much more. And I'm sad that I won't get to see that in this position because I won't be here after this meeting. But I think it's like this little glimmer of hope after having seen what the staff has gone through COVID, through staffing changes, through being short-staffed at points, through having a heavier caseload, through having a lot of legislative changes and directions, that if there's this option that some things could be freed up, and that could help and allow the board and staff to move more quickly and more efficiently through a lot of different topics that kind of have hanging over us.
Remember, Patel?
Board Member Patel. I understand you guys done really hard work. I made my comments earlier to you about the fee increases, and then I asked direct question that time to CFO. If we increase the licensing fee, is it going to make impact on the budget shortfall? Is it going to be significant impact? And the answer was no. And my fear is, yes, we are going to increase this fee to make the budgetary demand, but then there is going to be a licensee who has dual license. They might not renew their license in Oregon. And personally, I know 3 pharmacists who practice outside of the Oregon state. They had the Oregon license. Now they are not going to renew it. They're going to let it relapse. So that's what I was like, is it really going to help us, or either just going to backfire us? The other question I also raised, that non-pharmacy drug outlet licensing, that community health clinic, correctional facility, dispensing practitioner drug outlet, animal euthanasia, all those licensing fee, where that go? Did that go to them, or does that come to the Oregon, our agency?
Executive Director Runyon, all of our fees come to our agency
Our
as an
agency.
other funded agency.
Other thing is, like, if we have to increase the licensing fee, how about not doing all 40% all across, or maybe some other outlets? We just say, because some of the outlet, they only have $100 dispensing fee, like your drug outlet, and only $100. Like, why can't, if we really have to make a decision, then not just do the technician and pharmacist licensing fee increase like 40%, just do 5-10%, and other outlet or other entity, they can increase the, instead of 40%, it can be 50%, 60%.
So that's not something we could look at in the future by any, but with the way that the fee increase process works and the rules around it, it has to go through the legislature, and the legislature has to approve it. And this is what they've approved, is 40% across the board. So I'm not saying it can't be done next time, yeah, in the next biennium, in the next budget process, definitely something that can be looked at and addressed. But for unfortunately, we're here where we are.
This is Board Member Patel. I don't recall if we were given that kind of option that, hey, let's just not do 40% all across, but let's just do 5 or 10% to the pharmacist and then technician licensing fee increase, but the other, outlet, we can increase 50, 60. I don't recall, did we?
This is Board Member Beeman. My recollection, and please correct me if I'm wrong, is that due to the timing of when this was sort of brought to us, and I won't say discovered, but at least brought to us, and the urgency and kind of the dire state that our budget was in, didn't have the luxury of a lot of time to have those discussions, because I think that would be a very robust discussion of how much to increase which fee. that the most fair in terms of a financial outlook, that it was to do a 48% across the board and just have it be equal for all license type and registration type. But my understanding was it was because of the time prior to us having to get our budget request in, that this was per the financial guidance, that like this was like the fastest and most efficient way, given that we had a fairly quick deadlines for getting the request in. But again, please correct me if I'm wrong. But that's why we didn't have the luxury of time to have the discussion of a little bit here, a lot more there, and looking at that.
It's Executive Director Running. Board Member Patel, I was a little confused by the comment about you asking, or I'm not necessarily confused. I wasn't as informed perhaps as you about the comment of you asking Hari, our previous CFO, as to whether or not the increase would affect the budget shortfall. And he said no. Could you provide a little more comment on that? I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, it was robust discussion, I do remember, and I don't know what was our budget shortfall. I think it was in million or something. And I told him, like, let's say if you increase the licensing fee, whether it's going to make a significant impact. And he said no, and it wasn't the public meeting. Because it was not, if you ask me right now, like, even if you increase all those licensing fee, I don't think so. We are going to generate that much revenue to make up that $1 million or something.
Executive Director Running, I'm looking at the budget right now, the budget request and those that are approved, and it would lead to around about a 6-month residual operating balance after taking care of those additional expenditures, which is right in line with the governor's expectations. So I have the presentation that's public information that shows otherwise, that it would in fact raise, and they're objective figures here, and we have to email that to you, that does show objectively the magnitude to which that fee increase would not only take care of those policy option packages, but would also lead to that 6-month residual operating balance afterwards.
So let me ask you, this is Board Member Patel. So what is the budget shortfall right now? Like, what we are predicted budget shortfall for next 6 months?
So again, this is public information, and the 40% increase across the board to all licensing types would lead to an increase in our budget or revenue by $3,517,890.
Increasing the fee?
Yes. So that is significant. It's significantly greater than the other policy option packages, such as 102 with the licensing database modernization project, which has a price tag of about 50% of that.
And what is our budget shortfall though? Say like you're going to increase $3 million by increasing all the licensing fee, but what is our budget shortfall? For the next 6 months, like, or 1 year, or whatever you have projected.
I don't have that data in front of me. If you're asking what would it be if we didn't
Yeah.
act today,
Yeah,
or if this failed, I don't have that in front of me.
Yeah, but I respect it. Whatever the presentation Harry gave, and that's what I do recall, that I asked the straight question, it's not. So I also told about my business too, and I told, like, it seems to me, it looks like we have to, there's revenue. I think we have to increase the revenue, but even though if you increase the licensing fee, is not going to meet the goal of that budget shortfall. And I asked the direct question, and I do remember, and Harry said, not going to make the significant financial impact on that one. But if you say it's going to make, like, it's going to generate $3 million increasing licensing fee, take your word.
It's in there, but like, we'll delineation out of the either in that, like, and what it does, or in that, in those.
You could give me the information, like when was the Harry represent that one?
Staff member Melvin. So within the gray box right here, I have hyperlinked everything, and that you may find what you're looking for in one of those links.
Yeah,
Without me going back to that meeting, I can't really pull that up for you also, but
Board Member Pinero, and we are able to revisit this annually. Is that correct?
Right.
Biannually at request.
And so that's actually is what we, like, you know, we put in some, another, here, I'll teach you better than I can, but like in response to how sort of this all kind of like shook out, right? There's new processes in place around budget, coming to meetings, more discussion, robust discussion on that. As talking about like with the rule and I'm needing to put on the NASPA fee, or not NASPA, that's accountants, but you know, but you know, like having that, like we need to be bringing it every year, right? Like, so it still needs to be a yearly discussion. It really should probably be more than that, right? And so that was, you know, part of the processes that the board staff has put into place going forward is that there will be, you know, more information on this.
Because part of my understanding originally was this hadn't been brought forward as frequently as it should have been. Is that correct? And so that there wasn't transparency really on what was happening with everything. And you can correct me if I'm wrong or my recollection is not correct.
Was it
I-
a shock?
I will move to approve.
So I think we just, you know, well, does anybody, I think there might be more comment. We will have to we'll have to call for the vote again.
I just have, Board Member Kruger, I just have a question. Who authored the 2025-27 agency request budget and who are the co-authors?
staff member Melvin, that would have been myself and the prior leader to speak to board member Pinedo's comment that former executive director, and you weren't on the board yet, chose certain items to bring forth to the board and items that he did not want to bring to the board. So ARB, that would have been myself and former Director Fox
Just the two of you.
submitted that.
Who,
And including our DAS CFO, Hari, all of the parties were involved, so.
were there any other staff members who helped author the request?
Yes, staff member Hennigan, because she manages our licensing software, so all of the revenue projections, she's responsible for that piece of it.
Anyone else?
Staff member Graham puts the graphs together for us.
That's it, that's all, who's touched it, reviewed it, edited it, authored it?
In ARB, correct, and then GRB, you had new staff.
I'm only asking about the 2025-27 agency request budget.
Request budget is where we started, that is correct, to my knowledge.
This is Board Member Joyce. So, you know, my problem is within the gray box, the language used in the gray box, where it says the fees are comparable to Washington and California. But when you actually look at the data, it's not. And that's frustrating to me. To even put this in language, that they are comparable to Washington and California. I mean, I say it's a pants on fire, inaccurate information. When you look at California's renewal fee for pharmacists, it's $505. Ours is going to increase to $350. Their pharmacy tech fee in California is $120. I'm looking online right now.
Nothing in the gray box has to stay.
Oh.
You guys can edit that.
Well, I mean, it's.
I can speak to it. I can speak to it. Staff member Melvin. So again, for the gray box is what we use to file the notice for the rulemaking. We can
Yes.
change it at any time, right? That's what we all agree on in this room. So at the time when we were drafting the agency request budget, I'm not sure where we got just to California and Washington. The information that I provided and the board also has, I did 5 Western states. So that's where an average, when we're saying it's comparable, it's the 5 Western states that we put forth in our analysis,
Okay.
not just California and Washington. Just want to make sure. And
Okay.
now that data looks different. That was in June. Okay, when we started building that, it was May 2024. So it would have been the fees that were on those websites at that time. Board Member Joyce, does that help?
Yeah, I mean, it helps. I understand this was initially, where you started to pull the data. But however, my argument is that it's disproportionate. If you compare what the renewal fees are, for pharmacists and pharmacy technicians, and if you look across the board, the licensing fees and fee schedule, as I understand. I understand the importance of passing this budget and the software update and how much more efficient we will be if that's approved.
Approved by the legislature.
No, but I understand that it was approved yesterday, right? Okay,
Was what we asked for.
right, I understand that. So as I'm saying, my problem is with the broad swath of 40% increase for everything. I understand why they could not have spent a little more time, a day or two, to calculate different fee schedule to make it more fair. The Washington State renewal fee for pharmacists is $530. Ours is increasing from $250 to $350, I believe. I just, you could have looked at other, you could have taken the 36 different licensing fees and done a more fair increase to get to the end goal for our budget, instead of just a broad swath, 40% for everybody. This poor pharmacy technician making under $40,000 a year, 40% increase for you, it's not fair.
This board president should, and I don't know if you recall, but this was an urgent. And it takes more than 2 extra days to try and analyze 36 different license types on who's gonna get 20, who's gonna get 30, 40, 50, 60, whatever it is. To try to map that out would have been astronomical when we had to get this to the governor's office in a very short order. It was a big shock to many of us of what we would
Okay.
end up in our next plan in if we didn't do something urgently now. And there
Right.
was not time to do the finesse that we would all love to have had.
The end result is you still have a pharmacy technician who doesn't need to be certified. Unlike California and Washington and many other states, you have them paying the same fee or higher, in some cases. And that's the end result, is that this, pharmacy technician not making very much money, having to pay $140 to renew their license.
But that's $20 a year, which I know is still a lot to a lot of people. But when we look at $20 a year,
Okay.
they should get, we should all get paid more.
Okay, but then if that pharmacy technician was to look at how disproportionate the pharmacist's fee is, $505 in California, $530 in Washington, and we're increasing ours to $350 for the pharmacists. That's a $200 difference per pharmacist. There's 6,500 pharmacists in Oregon, I believe. I don't know. But if you do the math, it's disproportionate. So.
Board Member Kirkbride, I appreciate everyone's comments and feelings and emotions, and I know it's running high. I do think we should spend our time focusing on what we can't change or what we can change. What I heard was that because it went through the legislature at 40% across the board, we can't change that today. We could discuss it all day and we can't change that. So while it's unfortunate and not everyone likes it, I think that's what we have in front of us. And so I think we should switch gears and spend our time talking about what we can change, which is language in the gray box. So if anyone has any suggestions about changes there that would help move this along, or other things that we actually can change, I think that would be a good use of our time as a collective board. Because we're not gonna make everyone feel good about what happened, how it happened, the timeline that it happened, and I think what we owe to the state of Oregon is to take some action, and I'd like to move forward with that.
I'd like to ask, Board Member Hall, maybe if you have any comments.
Member Hall, I don't think it's worth diving into if, I mean, we're just gonna be hashing out the same thing. I feel like heard meetings a lot where, I'll hear, oh, it's gonna go to rulemaking. It's not official yet, you'll see this again. And then it comes back, and then it's like, oh, well, they already approved it, we need to do it. This is where we're at. My experience.
Board Member Kroger, what I feel like I'm collectively hearing is all really unhappy with how this went down, how this was presented, how it went forward, and we can't change that. But what I think I also heard from staff member Runyon was that we have the opportunity going forward to make those corrections and analyze and see and do what we feel is fair to all licensees. And I think maybe for did I hear we can change the gray box? That's something that we can change. I would suggest that we strike the part that says would result in fees, strike that are comparable to neighboring states and on par with the upward trend of continued fee increases seen across the industry. Strike that line because we don't feel that it is factually accurate, and that is not what we would like to present to the public. We could say that and determine that the 40% would result, I don't know, that we need to do the 40% right now. And I don't think anybody will be happy with that, but I feel like that might be a way we can move forward.
Been in a financial crisis, and with this, we will be able to not be in a financial crisis, do our updates that are necessary to continue to work forward.
Yeah, I would.
And support our mission.
Good.
I think it's just we need to reiterate that we need to support our mission.
So putting that verbiage where that is, that's why we're doing this.
I would suggest that determine that the increase of 40% is necessary at this time.
Remember, Pinello, is there a way once, again, this has already been approved, but and we come back to this because of dual licensees maybe not being able to afford this, is there any way to keep track so that when this does come back around to see the impact that it had on those licensees and to see how many licenses were not renewed due to the financial impact so that we can maybe decide later on, this is what this fee impact had on community and this is how many licenses we lost due to this?
I don't know if they have a way to gather.
There you go.
Due to something
We don't trust that.
It's just something specific, because there are gonna be so many variables.
We do get updates as to there's this, like each renewal cycle, we get the information of this is how many licenses were renewed. And so you could always ask for a comparison of year to year, I'm sure, but I don't know that we can ever, unless I'm wrong, there's not really a way to gather why they didn't renew. Like I may not renew because I don't want to renew, and Board Member Kirkbride may not renew because of the fee increase. But there's no way if we don't renew, like there's no way to gather the data because you're not putting anything in, you're just not renewing. So the numbers would give numbers, but it could be multifactorial and not just two.
I was hoping there would be something so that when this came back around, we could say, okay, this is the amount of licensees that couldn't afford this, or this is the amount of licensees that decided not to renew. So because of this, maybe we should instead not increase or decrease that part and increase drug outlets or increase some of the other license.
You could definitely look at the overall numbers, right? Like, that's like something they could, but we wouldn't necessarily like. No, because it is just a choice, right? It's not like you could just like not renew, right? It's not like you have to.
I mean, if you want to live.
Yeah.
Board Member Kroger, I appreciate you wanting to make a decision based off of data. That, right, like, you want to do what's right and fair, and you want the data to be able to make that decision. I just don't feel like it's possible probably in this scenario, but I appreciate your line of thinking, Board Member Pineda.
Board Member Patel, thank you for all the comments, and I agree we have to move forward. Nothing we can change. Legislature, they pass this, budget. And for ED Gary Renian, I appreciate if you say like it's going to make an impact, 30 million. That's quite a bit money. So I agree with that. Then we should move forward. 3 million.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, 3 million. Sorry. So if it's going to make an impact, then perfect, we should move forward. But just for the future, I wish we have a little bit more time and there is a little bit more transparency. And when you said it's going to come back to us to make a final decision, then better is come back to us to make the final decision instead of the final decision is made. And now we have been told like nothing you guys can do, just move forward. Okay, thank you.
I just do want to clarify that it actually will have to come to you again, right? So this is just the initiation of the rulemaking. So once it goes through that process, then you will have to adopt the final rule. So you're up to.
And the program is fine.
Yeah, but it actually has to happen.
It'd be nice for this to go quicker when we adopt it.
Executive Director Runyon, just one final comment. I don't want any of these comments to be construed in such a way that you assume this is how I would have gone about this, or that I agree with this, or I wanted this. What I don't want is a budget shortfall that would render us without a licensing software or platform. But I have, if it makes you feel any better, out in the public, I've voluntarily included conversations about this fee increase when it has been very uncomfortable to do so, when I did not have to do so, but I feel as though it is my obligation to the public, to our licensees and all interested parties, to let them know about this. So I didn't have to bring this up at the OHA quarterly pharmacy partners update that I do every 3 months. I didn't have to bring this up at the OSPA lectures that I did in Lane County. I have to bring this up at the OSHP annual convention that I did in a couple of other events, but I made it very clear to them that even though it's perhaps uncomfortable for me to do that, that's my obligation to them, and that's my obligation to you, as I expressed yesterday: honesty, integrity, transparency. And I didn't have anything to do with the creation of this budget, but I can guarantee you that the next budget that we create will not be done behind back doors. I'm not saying that's how this one happened, but I can tell you that's not how the next one will happen. So we just need to get there. And these fee increases, again, they don't have to be forever, but there won't be a later unless we take the appropriate action now. And so that's just, again, my kind of commitment to you and to the interested parties. And then wrapping up with this, I think Rachel said that we need consensus on the amendments to the gray box. If you want to make a motion for that and vote.
No, we don't need a motion,
No,
just need
just-
consensus
Yeah, just consensus.
to agree with Board Member Kroger's suggestion. So
Would you like
you're
me to redo my,
you're just saying strike what I have highlighted, is that correct?
no, strike
Because it needs to,
after 40%, everything's stricken, and then it would say that the increase of 40% is necessary at this time.
that's what we need consensus on.
That's true.
So have them go around.
Anybody disagree with that?
Yeah, there you go.
That's a question.
Good, Warren?
Good, Rich.
Thank you.
Is it better, Rich? Is it not good? It might not be good, but is it better?
It's better.
Okay.
Okay, are we ready? And Do I need, we didn't actually revise the rule, we just revised the gray box, so it's still,
I still need the motion, yeah.
okay. Are we ready? Okay. Is there a motion to move to initiate the rulemaking process on July 1st, 2025 for OAR 855-110-0005, OAR 855-110-0006, OAR 855-110-0007, and OAR 855-110-0010 as presented.
So move, board member Beeman.
Second. Second, board member Bino.
Wonderful. Board, member Chin, yes. Board, member Joyce,
Opposed.
board member Beelman,
Yes.
board member Hall,
Yes.
board member Kirkbride,
Yes.
board member Kroger,
Yes.
board member Patel.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion.
Board member Pineda.
Board member Pineda, I'm sorry. You were on the next week's VP. Remember
Just fill it in for what you want. Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm gonna get a complaint.
Delegated authority.
All right, if motion passes with board member Joyce opposed, even though we changed the break up. I'm kidding it. All right, I don't think we need another break. Can we keep moving on? Huh? We need a break. Great, good.
Staff needs a break. Does staff need a break? Contractual.
No.
We don't have non-contractual staffing. So we will now review and discuss feelings C1, C1A, C1B, all the Cs. Please, Executive Director Renton.
We're just gonna look at the word first and then we can do the C one.
This is your baby.
So you could just talk about what this, what happened, maybe a piece of it in today and versus Jason. Oh, sorry, no, this is, the standard vaccination, there's a new universal. Oh, yeah.
It's Executive Director Runyon. So here we have again, the most recent iteration of the universal vaccine protocols. So we'll look at the rules first, and just for a little bit of background context as a refresher. We've been working on these for several months now, and then we brought these to you, I believe, in February. Voted to send them to the PFAC for review, and then they approved and then voted to, at the, I believe, April 23rd meeting, voted to send it to where we are now, the June board meeting. Actually, we'll go, just scroll down here.
Yeah. Very,
We got rid of the word compendia here,
I added.
and then obviously added pursuant to statewide drug therapy protocol. And there are just some minor changes here. And then this one's new, Board Council Hunt, I don't know if you want to speak to this one or.
Formulary.
Yeah, you're right. Sorry. Give me a second.
Got it.
Can you explain, because the public doesn't have that version either.
So
Yes.
just like, looking at the, just separating out making clear what happens, when you're prescribing via the formulary versus what happens, when you're prescribing via protocol, which is what's sort of mentioned in the gray box, and that is just delineated out. We talked about earlier. Yeah. So, basically just, yeah, we'll pull it up and we'll also see the
Oh
difference.
my gosh, sorry. Hold on. Struggle. It's real. Wait, so did you,
Can you just pull the protocols first?
I don't have that pulled up, but yes.
Okay.
I thought you wanted to go over the green highlight first.
I mean, that was just because that's what you had up, but I was.
Sorry,
So
I'm right here.
what this whole thing does overall, right, is what we're doing, right, is taking out the individual protocols for each individual vaccine and making uniform protocols for vaccines pursuant to age groups. So we have the 18 and older, 7 through 17, 3 through 6, 6 through 2. And so what I was thinking is in looking at this, right, like if you look at those, the individual protocols first, sort of get an idea of like what those are. And then when we are adopting this, right, this rule, that's also included in it. So that's what I was just like, if we look at the protocols.
Gotcha.
It might be a little
Okay.
more. So honestly, could see where the protocols are.
We can do that for sure. But do we want to address the screen
Yeah, so
thing
this
first?
is what I was talking about. Pulling out this thing for each drug or device, the pharmacist prescribes via formulary, and I know you guys wanted to make some edits potentially to this language. Is it or no, one below?
Yeah, so I popped in 689, 645, and 6 and the statute so we can look at it in one document, so we can
Okay.
pull.
Yeah, I feel like we're jumping around. So, but. You guys wanted that now?
Yes. Is you're here.
Yeah. So just to explain what this was, right, was just above its protocol, when you're prescribing via protocol, you do these things, and now this will say for each drug or device, the pharmacist prescribed via formula must, and this, and then there's the other rule on formulary below, so we should just, whatever we do here, we want to make sure we add. Sure, it lines up with what's below, or below as well.
So can you remind me what the statute says?
Got it right here.
Yes, and I just couldn't remember if it was in 645 or
It's in bold.
it is in both. Just tell me when you see it. I don't remember the paren. Sorry.
Well, it's in the bunch.
Yeah.
But basically, anywhere it says, with the D, yeah.
Yeah, D right here.
It's-
We can cite that one.
And so, you know, for
Is pursuant to a diagnosis by a healthcare practitioner as the prescriptive authority and is qualified to make the diagnosis. So that's statute language.
Okay.
So that's what we should put in the green box. To my thinking.
in the green box.
Yeah, do you want paren D up in the new rule? Is that what you're saying? The entire thing, like? Yeah, it's just a piece of it.
Just a piece of.
Which pieces do we want me to grab?
I think it's this is board member Beeman, I think that the issue most of us are having is the obtained proof. Whereas the statute says
Yeah,
pursuant to, and just having that language match is my understanding.
so we just put pursuant to and got rid of obtain, right?
Obtained proof, yeah.
Wait, what am I striking? Get rid of all of this. Correct? I can't
Rid of
hear you guys. I
obtain.
need microphones, please.
Strike obtain proof of diagnosis by a healthcare practitioner.
Oh, all the way.
No.
I thought it was just obtained proof.
It's a pursuant to diagnosis by a healthcare practitioner. And that should be who, not that, has prescriptive authority and who is qualified to make the diagnosis. And then that's taking just the obtained proof out. So this is basically the language in your statute. And taking out some must of obtaining proof. Yes, ma'am.
This is board member Beeman, but we do need to kind of finesse that opening to be or the end of one because it's saying a pharmacist must. And then pursuant to, so we just have to finesse that grammar a little bit there, so it makes more sense, but this way we're using the same language that's in the statute and not what was in the previous.
Right, we're missing some words.
And then the end of that statement says document the diagnosis. That was not.
This is
not
really.
It's not in the statute.
No, but it's in the rule below.
Oh, number 7, and let me get rid of this real quick. Is that what Andrew,
No,
you're
the
referring
other
to
rule.
this?
No, the rule below, the rule that. The formulary.
Oh,
and
gotcha.
then obtain. Further.
Then I guess this must be documented.
Why do we have to list it in that, like, if it's listed here, why do
This
we
is
have?
formula.
So that was the, sort of the way that I was trying to not like tear apart the whole thing. And start over, that's why I was just saying, like, just have a match.
But the obtained proof, this is board member being, the obtained proof and the document though are what the board put in there, that's not what.
I'm
this
not saying you have to
document
have it
says.
there, I'm just saying that's where it.
So we're able to amend that now if we so choose.
I'm okay with the existing language of document the diagnosis, but when you put it next to obtain it from and then document, it makes it into a very different thing than what's happening today. So standalone, how it has been, I'm okay with that, especially since I think it would have to go to PFAC. Review that, so I'm okay as long as we get rid of the obtain part. I think we're okay back to kind of where we started. We're not adding anything on.
Board Member Kroger, so this language here, 6A and B, was, it also exists for the protocol, correct? Basically, is this kind of like because we split it, so now we had to add that in before the formulary? Is that what I'm understanding? What does it say before the protocols?
Diagnosis is not required for that.
I know, but I'm just saying, do we have that for each drug or device, the pharmacist must, do we have that statement as well?
Right, so that's number 6. This is your lead in right here. Sorry,
Yeah.
this green is so
We
hard to.
have the same lead in for the protocols.
Yeah. What does 6 say?
Where is it?
Yeah. And then insured, yeah, you could flip it. Put B first and A second. Oh.
Yeah, something's off with the way this reads. You can't go in. It's
Must ensure prescribing is pursuant. I think that solves it. Pharmacist must ensure prescribing is pursuant to the diagnosis.
But wait, this is the lead in here, must ensure this and then ensure pursuant. And that's it.
Ensure prescribing is pursuant. Does that help?
Jeez.
Or maybe it's just must prescribe pursuant to. Pharmacist must prescribe. Pursuant to, well, then it sounds like they must prescribe if they have the choice not to prescribe.
Right, the may, I say may prescribe, but the statute says may.
Right.
Get rid of this because this is new languages.
This is probably better.
Can someone read it
If
out?
you are prescribing, you're making sure it's pursuant to a.
Their prescribing is.
It's, yeah, yeah.
It is after prescribing.
Can we strike document the diagnosis later on in the rule?
It's not, it's in a totally separate rule, so it needs to stay here. Match what's down below.
Why do we have, I mean,
We need to copy the language in because you can't just say those 3 words. It doesn't.
What did it say? It said. Board Member Kirkbride, is this what you're saying right here, right? This is what we
Make
use.
it match.
Yeah.
If that's what you're talking about.
Does everyone agree? And I'm gonna delete the statute out.
it's votes for the formulary.
No, the one below is not. Oh, sorry, I heard protocol. I heard you.
Okay, board member Kroger, better, worse?
It doesn't need to be here.
What I think, but AAG Hunt says it
No,
does.
she's,
I'm just thinking you should have it matched, because otherwise, when you look here, right, you might read this and think these are the only things I need to do. And then you get down below and then read it and you're like, nothing is.
I don't, I mean, this is, my view on this is that how a pharmacist ensures that it's pursuant to a diagnosis should be their professional decision. Is it documented on the, like, who, it doesn't need to be prescribed in this language, in my opinion, because they're gonna ensure it's done pursuant to a diagnosis.
Yeah, the document.
If they want to document it, because that's probably the best standard of practice, great, but I don't know if we need to say that.
Current rule says to document it.
Yeah,
so.
but I'm saying, she's saying we could strike it in both places if we wanted to.
Remember, but like. Both places.
And can we strike that without going to PFAS?
Yeah, the
The
PFAS
current rule.
Because the way that the PFAC was weighing on the things that come in the list. The PFAC weighs in on that, the, the work if you wanted to add something to it. The list of the drugs.
Agree.
Well, that's what PFAC
In a
must weigh in on.
That's out of curiosity. Then because again, that pharmacist, I have to document my diagnosis and my plan and my prescription. So
If you're talking about a formulary, no, all you have to document is a diagnosis.
Member Efremov, when there's any changes to this section of rules, it does go back to the committee in the sense that we present to the formulary committee the rules that the board is proposing to change or has changed, so they could provide additional feedback for us to bring to the board also, so they can weigh in and the board can determine if you want to take that or leave it.
I mean, my thoughts on this, I mean, this is a big conversation that I think we were intending, but think about ostomy products and supplies. A patient comes in and says, I need more ostomy product and supplies, and I go, oh yeah, you do. That's, I've ensured that there has been a diagnosis at some point in this patient's life that they need those supplies. Do I need to document that to prove that I've done the professional judgment of saying, yes, this patient needs this particular very specialized product? Do we have to mandate that this is like for, you know what I mean? And, but it may be for insulin injection supplies. The pharmacist is gonna determine, hey, you know what, I looked at their profile, they've got insulin, I feel comfortable with that. How they go about ensuring the diagnosis, I think needs to be flexible so that pharmacists can use their professional judgment. And if it comes down to there's an issue, then we can go to that pharmacist, okay, how did you make that determination? You didn't document it anywhere. And then we have that conversation and it presents itself differently. So that's my thought on that. So I'm sorry for.
no, it makes perfect sense to me. I just think it's the wise pharmacist is gonna do what they need to do to make sure that everything flows right.
More Joyce, so under supplies, nebulizers, we're talking about nebulizers with medication in them, ipratropium, albuterol, flucloxacin,
No,
I-
talking about,
the actual, the
The
physical
machine,
machine,
the
not the
pump.
actual
yeah.
nebulizer, nebs. Yeah. That would be fine.
So you'll have to take out that the diagnosis must be documented.
Board Member Kirkwood, I think that was just included to match it up with the statute, but if
Yeah.
this board doesn't see that that's necessary and our AEG is saying that that's not necessary, then I agree, take it out. It's one less thing pharmacists have to worry about.
Yeah, I don't think the statute says the documentation part, it just says pursuant to diagnosis. So it was interpreted to document it, but
I mean. Do I get a nebulizer?
You get the machine,
Hey, that's it.
hope you have some albuterol.
Does that need to be clarified?
That was so hard to get.
Okay, are we good? Good.
Okay, great, we've made progress.
Are we done with this section?
Overhaul, there was just I think it was the green part. Should we put a diagnosis? It's bothering me, sorry.
This is lovely green.
Or do you guys like that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure. Board Member Kirkbride, number 8. See one, right? It should say something about reporting to the PCP. The new number 8.
Yeah, right there.
There's a new section that was being added, I believe.
So this is 8. Is it 10 right here?
No, it's there.
Oh, you know what? It's a different version, so it might have changed.
Or I deleted it when I removed the statute.
It got moved down below the breakdown of protocol versus.
It was supposed to be 8.
Okay, what I want to question is, it's my belief that we removed from the statute the language that a pharmacist must report to the PCP. So when alert became the requirement, and I do not like the implication here that vaccines require reporting to the PCP, because I don't believe that to be true. And I also don't believe that putting it in alert equals reporting to the PCP. The PCP can choose to check alert or not. So I really would like to, unless we legally are obliged, I want to remove anything about reporting to the PCP.
I'm sorry, yeah, it's the statute.
It's still in the statute. Oh, dear. Okay.
We'll be alive when we can update our statute.
While we're at it. Any more conversation on that? But you-
No, it's fine. And I understand the next part says it can be accomplished by, but it really implies that like pharmacists uniquely as healthcare providers should report to the PCP. And it's so antiquated. I know. That's what happened in 1999. Done with that comment. I do have one more, but if you'd like to go for it.
My concern is with current A on the must use an audio visual communication system to conduct the consultation. This needs to be stricken. If a consultation is provided through an electronic means, the Oregon licensed pharmacist must use an audio visual communication system to conduct the consultation. What are we delivering, an iPad to a patient's house to talk to him? Like this, it doesn't need to be there. And
A
it's in the
video
other
appointment.
section.
You're making a video appointment. On their phone, on their cell phone.
But it's
It's a thing.
But this is unnecessary for providing a consultation. I think there's rules, the statute does say about like in person
Was
But
this
for-
regarding the
consultation,
when we
dispensing consultation. I don't know if that's what it's meant for.
It's a big topic, for sure. The rules currently say that any physical assessment should be done face to face. That's one rule. And then this piece about consulting. If you're consulting and you're doing it electronically, you need to have audio visual.
Remember, but why can't be just audio? Why you have to see the patient? I mean, I agree, like if it's the first time you're doing physical assessment, okay, in person, totally understand. But this is a consultation, like you can call your doctor. Talk to your doctor, like you must have the Facebook time? No. Why we need audio visual? We don't, I think if consultation is provided through the electronic means, and I think it should be period. There's no need to be a must be, and that's not even like shall or anything. It's like must use an audio visual communications.
Why is it even commented on? I believe there was a time when something happened and all this got added.
COVID.
I don't remember all, no, it's before COVID.
This is work of, and I don't remember the ins and outs wise, but it already seems very antiquated and it's very limiting.
We're allowed to. This is within the statute as far as I'm aware.
Is the statute just the 645, 649, and any other secret statutes?
There's definitions always, definitions always trip people up. You gotta look at the definitions.
Sorry, your next job is gonna go to cost.
Definition.
So is anyone opposed to striking this number 8?
I'm not opposed to striking anything.
You just don't comment on how pharmacists counsel because they have rules about counseling.
They have professional judgment about things, Liz.
Pharmacists don't need to be more limited or have to worry about something else they can get in trouble for.
They have to learn the definition.
I think too, the electronic means, I mean, how do you define that? And maybe we are missing a definition somewhere that we need to find and strike, but B, how limiting is that for access when, I mean, is it found an electronic mean or what? I think it's just, is there a definition for electronics means that we need
I
to?
just, I'm looking.
For how little this is probably occurring in the grand scheme of things, like worrying about this level of detail is.
There is a so
Telepharmacy.
689,700 telepharmacy requirement
That's it.
things, so. Right, but it still talks about, so it does say like. Pharmacy services for which pharmacists may use telepharmacy, including the supervision of.
Different.
Yeah.
Staff member, I think part of the discussion, again, this was many years ago, because I think board member Kirkbride probably, dare I say, helped provide input to create these rules at one point in time, right? Feedback worked together with the board to create this, and my understanding is just keeping in mind that this is for not just consulting patients, this is the act of meeting with them to potentially issue a prescription, either via protocol or via formularies. And of course, the board, from my recollection too, there weren't any specific requirements in law and how you would have to do that. But there have been telehealth laws that have probably come out post-COVID that we might want to just cross-reference to make sure there isn't any other requirements in when healthcare providers provide prescriptions in that format, if there's any other conditions that might need to be had, but we can, not to delay conversations, strike for now, and we could bring back if there's anything that conflicts potentially for future board discussion.
Say, doing telehealth consultation, look at these rules.
The other question I had is, this is what I wrote on my paper, section 104, 1B. Regarding training records. This struck me a little funny, because it says any training records related to administration of vaccines shall be kept for 6 years or uploaded to your file, your electronic eGov file. But like realistically, so what if someone chose the first option? I'm gonna keep my APHA training certificate for 6 years and then I'm gonna throw it away. Because it's an or, I did not upload it to my file. Then the board comes in and there's a problem and they say, I want to see your training record. That doesn't seem to make sense to me. And we've updated and removed a lot of the language, which is good, about keeping copies of things and training records. But I think in that absence, just having keep it for 6 years or upload it is not good from a compliance perspective. And then from the licensee perspective, I'm national faculty for APHA. It is next to impossible after about 10 years or so to get a copy of your training certificate from APHA. It's very difficult and you have to pay for it.
Yeah.
So if you don't keep that, it's not a good thing.
Can it just be uploaded?
What's your suggested language?
When it says uploaded into the electronic licensee record with the board, so wouldn't you just get it and upload it and be done with it? And not have to worry about it for,
With the new software, is all of the records, are we gonna be able to upload things and guarantee that when we get the new software system for the board, that it's gonna keep everything?
I think we should just say retained or uploaded because that's what people are doing now. And I would not want to put an onus on requiring every single person to upload it because not everybody is that tech savvy. And I know I've actually had questions this renewal cycle about uploading that silly CE certificate from the paying commission that you have to upload and people are like, I don't get it. What do I push? I don't know. You know, it's gonna take some
Wanna
time.
take out the 6
I think just take out the 6 years and we're good. And then if we want to, if it comes to fruition later that that's not good enough, we can change it. But to me, that implies, oh, it's been 6 years, toss. And I don't think that's a good recommendation, even though it's like an implied recommendation. I don't think it's a good one.
Any disagreements with striking that? Okay,
Right.
anything else?
Records retention.
It would be, must be retained. It just be retained, doesn't matter where.
Readily retrievable.
Yeah.
I have no problem prompting people to get in the era of uploading things, so I don't have a problem with the upload as long as it's an option. That's all I have in C1.
So now open these protocols, is what we're gonna do. Let's start with C1A. And then you tell me, let me see how I put these in here. Let's see first here. There. We'll do it like that. Okay, or you want the first one?
The executive director running. So moving on to mailing C1A, I believe. For each of the 4 different age groups, we have a separate assessment and treatment care pathway, and then we have a separate vaccine protocol for the age groups. So the majority of these are going to be the same. And we have some elements that change from age group to age group. But that might expedite the review of this, since the majority of this is not going to change. So we'll scroll down, and if you have any questions on this in particular, we can address those as we roll down.
I just wanted to confirm that there was a discussion about these emergency use vaccines in PFAC, and they did want to include these in both ENB. Yes, okay. Anthrax, Ebola.
Did one include?
Executive Director Rennie, yes, we do have the opportunity to perhaps partition those off in a way that you would prefer. That's open for discussion. Didn't have a preference on that, and whether they're partitioned or we put an asterisk or don't have any preference there, would be open for discussion.
I think wait and see.
They're based on the feedback.
Let's just see how it plays out. So many good changes. Let's not worry about that.
Rogue Ebola viruses.
It's Executive Director Runyon. So one of the differences here, looking at the versioning dates, these would no longer be the dates that we approve them. These are the dates of the most recent iteration or approval from the ACIP.
Love it.
This board member Beeman, can we fix the bulleting?
Yes, I want.
Sorry.
I know, I just thought.
Jack, too.
This is new too. They're not gonna- Oh, no, our current ones don't look like that. We're gonna put version dates in. That why we had it there? All right, we're talking to ourselves about the footer.
When you don't have the meningococcal containing vaccine, On pneumococcal, you don't have pneumococcal containing vaccines. There's a ton of pneumococcal vaccines. And you didn't have containing in that one. Have the hepatitis one like that? Just curious.
I don't know that I have the answer to that question, but I think the protocol doesn't cover any combo vaccines for pneumo. I think the protocol only covers the standalone.
There's lots of different.
23 and 15 and 21.
Curious, thank you.
Anything else you want to talk about on here? This is just standard, what was on our current stuff, right? We didn't add it. And as far as these, these new.
So we'll change.
I remember. Standard, what we,
It's really so fast. Everybody happy with that?
so ask them if they want to see the rest of these. Or we can.
Executive Director Redding, would you like to see the assessment and treatment care pathways for the other age groups?
Yes, please.
We'll move to the one for C1B for ages 7 through 17 years of age.
Um,
Oh, is it too big?
Depends on who you ask.
Yeah.
It's for the folks behind us.
folks in the back.
No, disregard these highlights. That was me.
Fine.
Yeah, those need to be there.
I have a comment regarding the, section that talks about in consultation with the patient. So I think it's after this. Okay. Oops. Oh, it's in the steps, yes. So go down, to the treatment pathway
Let
that's
me
after this page.
Sorry, our network is hesitating. Give me just a second.
Sure. So step one talks about this initial assessment, and this comment applies to B, C, and D. It really struck me as I read this infant protocol, where it says in consultation with your patient. Do we want to update that language at all as it relates to pediatrics? All of them say in step one in the first bullet, in consultation with the patient. I think it's fine here, definitely okay in the 18 and older, but as we get into those younger ages, like, is anyone concerned about that language, or we just let it go?
This, board member Chin, and even adults have patient representatives, so it probably should be patient representative.
That's what I wrote down, or authorized representative, or whatever the legal language is for that person.
It should be in all of
agree
them.
for all ages too, because it would not. Over 18 wouldn't be excluded from that necessarily.
So,
Correct, yes. Can we just guide staff to make that change? to-
healthcare representative is what we use in my world.
In all four protocols.
Board member Kirkbride, which step were you in?
Step one.
Oh, sorry, I'm down in
Step
4 and 5.
One.
There you go. Okay. So if you could repeat it, if you want me to add text here, someone just let me know.
Instead of in consultation with the patient, we wanted to say or authorized representative, or whatever the current OHA language is for how we refer to a patient representative, guardian, whoever.
You can check with them. In the medical world, we're using healthcare representative.
Can we just-
Oh, it's not our concrete policy.
Hmm?
It's.
Fine with me, as long as it just doesn't say patient, I'm happy.
Or their.
I guess what concerns me
No,
is
or their.
And I think this is where
Okay,
member Beaver,
yeah,
I think
please.
leaving it more general than finding a real definition somewhere so that we're not painting a corner, painting people into a corner that they have to have proof of this or that, whereas
Right. That makes
somebody
sense.
just assisting their relative to get the vaccine they need isn't limited by being an official agent or this.
That makes sense. So I had for, B.
All of this, okay. One's vaccines and.
Executive Director running, I think we also had some duplications in 4 and step 5. And I brought those up to Compliance Director Ed Furmoff, but we weren't instructed by the PFAC to make any amendments to this. I believe the documentation step, so second bullet point from the last. So step 4, in prescribe, dispense, and administer, direction to document. And then if we scroll down to step 5, step 5 is document and monitor. So there's duplication of the documentation
Correct.
step there, for example.
Remember Kirkbride, please remove the last 2 bullets in step 4. Other board members.
Straight up duplicate.
Wait, I don't think that was the same. Maybe it was just the document bullet.
The report vaccines,
This one?
Is it the same language?
What you could do is move that down to bullet point 5 or number 5 and just replace that. To replace the document vaccine
Sounds good.
administration, yeah.
I like it.
This is in specific.
Who wrote this?
And then get rid of.
I wrote it originally.
Good.
I spent a whole summer indoors writing this stuff.
Board member Kroger question, that the section assessment and treatment care pathway is a requirement of the statute that the protocol has that.
Need to be careful too on this, because this is the feedback recommendation, so like, that's why I was asking if it's duplicative, because it's like, you know, we can't change what they. Well, those we'd have to send it back to them, if we're gonna change this part that is substantive, so.
Do I need to make copies? They also see that. So can you make a statement? Before I finally use.
Anything else? Anything else for B?
Quick comment, ASIP has their second meeting of the year, June 25th through 27th. They have 8 new members. They
You don't
could
believe in vaccines?
that are controversial. So real-time changes or
We're gonna wait and
it's
see
over.
what happens.
Okay, just wait it out. Interesting group.
We're gonna do what we're gonna do in Oregon, and then if something happens that needs to change our path, then we will talk about that more.
Gotcha.
Right now in Oregon, we need to update our protocols to a universal protocol, and the best we have is saying follow ASIP. So until we know differently. In C.
Oh, Staff Member Melvin, I was just gonna make a comment that I'm gonna highlight that, so the document, same language through every one of these, correct?
That care.
Except for step 1. Okay. So the amendments I just made that you just watched, I'm going to repeat that on everything else. But I'm not gonna waste our time doing that right now.
Oh, thank
Okay,
you.
thank you.
Okay, so if you scroll up to the main meat of the document, I did.
In the
find-
pathway?
I did find it a little bit confusing. Scroll down a little bit where it talks about what vaccine. No.
Determine which vaccine needed.
Do I need to be in the front page, not the pathway? I'm
I
sorry,
want the
that's
front
my,
page.
okay, give me just a second.
But they were all in document.
They were for board ease of use, but you're looking at the raw versions right now.
Gotcha.
Here we go.
Okay, so this part where it says, scroll, you can give coronavirus and flu. This line is a little bit misleading, I think, because yes, it's true. You can do this right now through the PrEP Act, but really this statute in Oregon is under emergency declaration by the governor.
They passed it.
I thought they extended it.
And they did extend it.
So they extended the PrEP Act, but where I'm like, it's really just not broadly statutorily approved. Like, it is only allowed through the PrEP Act right now unless there is declaration by the governor for this age, for this group of age. I looked it
I'm
up.
thinking of a legislation that which just took out the sunset. That's what I was thinking of something else. That's what I was thinking of.
So they gave us flu, but they didn't change at 6 months, but they didn't
Yeah.
change this age. So just wondering if we could be more clear. We probably don't have to worry about it for 5 years unless things change and PrEP Act goes away sooner. I don't want pharmacists to mistakenly believe that they have statutory authority to vaccinate this age because it doesn't say that here. So there's a little blurb in the statute that I think we could just copy that says,
Footnote it.
yeah, that just says like, here's the authority for this age. And you can do them now because of PrEP Act, which we also reference in our current protocol. But to me, just how it is written now, it almost implies that it's all the time, forever and ever, but that's not true.
I don't know any pharmacists that really want to vaccinate this age anyway.
Correct.
And insurances normally don't pay for this age outside of providers' office anyway.
Board Member Kirkbride, if I. Oh, I'm in the wrong place. Or in both places. Okay. And hyperlinks are okay. I think that's how we have been doing these. Does that sound okay? Board Member Kirkbride?
That's fine with me.
You want PrEP Act underneath influenza, Bree? Is that what you said?
Would love to abolish the age in Oregon, but being in front of the legislature for that is a big undertaking, so I'll live with it for now.
What you're saying, Bree?
Board member Coker, AG Hunt, where is the statute for the assessment and treatment care pathway requirement?
I was just saying it's a protocol versus a formulary.
Yeah, where is that in the statute?
Oh, it's in that six. Big part.
You say that it requires the assessment and treatment care pathway in the
Oh,
statute?
that's about.
Right here.
Also, board member Kroger, some of this too is, PFAC looking at the statute language and seeing how can we meet the statute language. So again, I think if there's concerns about how it's currently being met, maybe a referral back to PFAC, that can you look at this again, how you can meet the statute language if you're not happy with treatment and care pathway model.
Remember being able, sorry. Is there a reason that on the other vaccine ages, it says that a qualified technician may vaccinate, and under this one, it does not, it stops at intern?
Not allowed to that.
Age.
Yes.
I wouldn't want to vaccinate my 5-year-old, should they?
Teenagers are worse than 5 years.
Oh, my daughter pulled a needle out of a flu vaccine out of her arm once.
Did pediatric years.
Did we have any other proposed amendments on this one? If not, I'll move to the next one.
And the only thing I had in D was that piece about the patient's authorized representative, which we already covered, so I don't have anything else in D either. We can bring it up so people can look.
Okay.
These are revised, but there weren't any substantive. I recall.
And I'm gonna fix all of this, right? In the footer. Which this one's gonna have that. You open the other one.
Thank you.
Board Member Kroger, I just wanted to be clear, I'm not concerned with the need for an assessment and treatment care pathway. But as I kind of read this is almost a policy and procedure outlined within the protocol. And I might need to just confirm with you because I'm not seeing it in the statute. I think that and then when you look at the rule, there's some requirements for that. But the general concern I have is not that an assessment and treatment care pathway is necessary. It's about how you go about it and what steps are there. And as practice changes, technologies change, etc., I don't want to be limited by what we have necessarily in the protocol. But I think that might be just a bit more research on my behalf with that. Just to be clear that my intent is not to eliminate pharmacists from having to have their own steps, policies, and procedures, but with that assessment and treatment care pathway within the protocol, my confusion just lies around, is it a requirement to be in the protocol, or is it a requirement of pharmacists to have that within their own company, outlet, whatever policies and procedures?
Really complicated with the statute. And,
Microphone.
Done legal advice on the past, and so I could look.
Yeah.
And I'll just add that when we had to see like how would we match this up, we chose the JCCP pharmacist patient care process as that brain model, and we just applied it to vaccines. So that's how we got all those steps, was taking that kind of generic model of patient care process and plugging in pieces of vaccine. So that's how we got there.
Yeah, I'm not fundamentally in opposition of that, and I think it is very comprehensive, but it's more of the necessity of having it housed within the protocol.
Are we ready to move forward?
Staff Member Melvin, I just pulled up this one because the board did not see this at the last board meeting. This is the managing adverse reactions. I don't know if Staff Member Runyon needed to speak to this or not, or if you all wanted to see it.
This E, which one is this?
This is C1E, yes.
After we had reviewed this with the board last time, we had not brought this protocol up for preparation, but an understanding if we were deleting all the others, this would have been deleted also. So when we took it back to the feedback, we made sure to ask them if anything needed to be changed on this document to be able to fit within this new model. So we wanted to bring this forth to the board to review. I do think there was one change though that they did recommend. Or was it in the other one? Sorry, they recommended that you didn't have to wait. Nope, I apologize. There are no changes on this one. The other document, it was how long you would have to wait for someone after a vaccination. They removed that 15 to 30 minutes off of that other standard. So no other changes were recommended from the PFAC committee on this document.
Thanks, Bree. Now it's good.
It's the same as it is live on the website today.
So they're not changing anything. It's
It's-
no rule making.
Applications don't. You just in the same format.
Yeah, there's nothing highlighted. This is, see what Can you just say in the microphone? I'm gonna open this again.
Okay. Any questions about Vision 115 and the C1A, B, C, D?
Which thing do you want me to this?
Executive Director Running. Sorry to interrupt. I have one last note. Staff Member Melvin's gonna pull up C1A again.
and older.
You're in. It's fine.
Executive Director Onion. So notice these are in alphabetical order. At the time of the last PFAC meeting, the chikungunya vaccine had been reviewed by the ACIP, so there's no recommendation there. I think they recommended it in May, mid-May. So it's not on this list here because it wasn't available at the time for the PFAC meeting. So we just bring that up for your consideration.
Given. It's a travel vaccine. Is it barbecue? I hope not.
Ask them if they want to see it.
Chicken,
Otherwise-
swine.
And we could pull up the complementary rule or the rule that correlates to that as well if you want.
And about C2,
C2 is the next, well, they need a motion on this. That's next. Yeah. I'm sorry, did you need to see C1 again? C2 would be the next thing in our lineup, but this is C1. This is what you were
So
looking at.
were you suggesting that we add the chicken guy to this?
Executive Director, and I was just bringing it up for your deliberation because it was, again,
Recent.
voted on after the PFAC meeting, so just had it in my notes to bring up.
If the
Are
PFAC didn't
we
approve,
able to add that?
right, because the PFAC didn't approve it, so we can't. Yeah.
Doesn't PFAC have to make the recommendation?
They have to make that. Got it.
Right. So, thank you for the information. Vote on it as is. As revised, because we did change a little bit, but it wasn't substantial. So, you all ready?
Should we wait for board member, superintendent?
Maybe I'll take a little 5-minute break. Then, or come back.
Friday. We got 5. 29, make it quick.
Old map ladder. Yeah.